When you're on the road with, let's say, the Rolling Stones, I mean, going to Germany and stuff, you said you're doing interviews. Like, how often are you talking to them? Is it just like every couple hours? Is it?
Let me tell you how this works. When you're dealing with the Rolling Stones, they have their own rules. Okay?
Right, I would imagine.
Something you'll learn. It's like with Gene Simmons. He makes the rules and you follow them.
Oh yes.
So I had this is for another show idea. I wanted to do a magazine type format rock and roll show. So when MTV came on the scene in August of '81, I approached CBS Television to do a magazine show that was sort of, would highlight the rock bands and the video world and interviews but for regular television. Remember that MTV was a cable channel, was only on in 12 million homes. Wasn't?
Oh my gosh.
So I was looking to CBS, and CBS said to me, okay, well, who are you going to have on this show? And I said, well, they said, you got to get big names if you want to get a show on, we'll give you a pilot that will air, which is what you can hope for. And half-hour pilot, will air it. But, who are you going to get? Mm-hmm. Well, I said, there's only one band that's still together that's the biggest band in the world, and that's the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
So now you got to remember, this was the early 80s.
Okay.
The Stones ended up giving only 2 interviews during the entire 80s.
Wow.
They gave one interview in 1981 to a woman named Rona Barrett, who you won't know the name, but
I don't. Years
ago, she was the gossip. She was Entertainment Tonight before there was Entertainment Tonight.
Okay.
Rona Barrett reports, she talked to everybody. And she was the word on everything. So I put in a request for an interview. And I told CBS, no problem, I'll get the Rolling Stones. And they said, okay, well, if you get the Rolling Stones, you can have the show.
Right.
Of course, I don't have the Rolling Stones, but I knew the guy in their office. So I went over to see him and I told him, I said, I have a show at CBS, but I don't have a guest. I need a big guest. You think the Rolling Stones will do it? No. Of course, he thought, CBS, you know what? We have a new live album coming out and, we're not coming to America. There's no plans. Okay, we'll do it. You have to go over to the band's touring Europe all summer. So you go over to Munich. And I said, okay, I'll go over to Munich, and they're playing 3 days there at the stadium. And, I said, okay, so when's the interview? And they said, well, whenever they tell you. Okay. I get on a plane. I go to Munich. I sit around the Munich Hilton where the Stones are staying. I go to the show. I see them. I wait, 2 hours before showtime on one of the shows, I'm told that Keith and Ronnie are ready to talk backstage at the stadium.
Wow.
2 hours before the show. So I had my crew. We went over, did the interview with Ronnie and with Keith. Done. Then they said, oh, Bill Wyman's available. Do Bill Wyman now. Did Bill Wyman. Charlie almost never gives interviews, so I wasn't,
Okay.
So I had to get Mick. Mick is not going to do an interview an hour before he goes on stage.
Right.
So the show goes, and I go, okay, so when are we going to do Mick? And they goes, well, when he calls you. I said, okay. So what do you want me to do? Well, go wait in your room. I waited in my room didn't happen the first day. Second day, get a call. Was their off day between the 3 shows.
Okay.
Mick's going out clubbing tonight. But before he does it, you can do the interview. I said, okay, great. What like 5 p.m? No. Be in his room at 10 o'clock tonight.
Oh, geez.
So 10 o'clock at night, because Mick going out to Mick meant midnight.
That's like 8 a.m. for him.
Yeah. So we went and did the interview, and it was a great interview. And obviously I got the show. Mm-hmm. And the pilot did okay. It didn't turn into a series, but you know what? I did a rock and roll pilot for CBS, and I got the Rolling Stones.
Seriously, I mean, that in and of itself, right, is a massive thing.
Well, the credibility of that really made it easier because it's like anything else. People say, well, who have you done? Well, I did the Stones, and you did the Stones? Okay.
Right.
You know,
that's a good way to start the conversation.
You can't do any better. The Beatles aren't together anymore. So, you know, and Led Zeppelin isn't. So it's the Stones. Anyway.
Right.
So that was, you know, that's how that happened.
Man,
and
what a story.
Other artists that I worked with at the time on that show, I also had Asia, which was a brand new band at the time, and they happened to have the number one album in the country. Their debut album sold 3 million immediately. Wow. Also on the show, I had made friends with REO Speedwagon, and they were the biggest American band. They had that High Infidelity album out, which had 3 huge hits. So they were monsters.
Seriously.
And then I had this unknown band from Britain that was originally from Australia, and nobody really wanted to deal with them, but I did. And they were called AC/DC. Oh. And I interviewed them. And I had an unknown Angus Young and Brian Johnson. So we had a clip from them. We had a clip from the Stones, a clip from REO, a clip from Asia. I don't remember what's on the rest of the show, but those were the 4 guest stars. And
what a
we
lineup.
Put the show out. Again, we did something that hadn't been done too much. We put the show out, and in the CBS, in the cities where CBS owned the station, like New York, Philly, Los Angeles, San Francisco, where they had what's called the owned and operated stations.
Okay.
We simulcast the show in stereo, and I got a local radio station in that city. What city are you in?
I'm in Edmonton, Canada.
Okay. We didn't have any stations in Canada.
Yeah.
But you get the idea.
I get the idea.
So, yeah.
So you actually had it put on the radio so that people could hear it there as well.
It was simulcast at the same time. And if you had on an FM station, you'd hear it in stereo and you'd watch the show. And it became a promotion for the radio station. They were promoting the show. We're going to have the stereo of it. The Stones are going to be on it.
So that must have went a long way for promoting that.
Oh, tremendous.
That's huge.
Yeah.
You couldn't even avoid the event at that rate. That's really incredible.
I don't know. I was too busy working on it to remember what happened.
Right. That's true. Fair enough.